This marks our third installment in our recently debuted Legacies and Leadership series, where we share conversations with minister members of the Presbytery of Philadelphia whose rich stories of life and ministry serve as an inspiration to us all. We're excited to share our recording of the conversation with the Reverend Dr. Leonard Bethel by our stated clerk, the Reverend Kevin Porter. Dr. Bethel's long ministry is one defined by his groundbreaking work in higher education as he sought to bridge both the academy and the church through his call to serve Christ. What follows is one highlight where we hear him share about a twofold experience with the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that has framed much of Dr. Bethel's ministry. I invite you to check out the longer version of this conversation by clicking the link in the description below. May you find yourself as inspired as we were.
Interestingly enough, during my early years, I was involved with Marjorie Penny Pushkin, a Quaker woman at the Fellowship House in Philadelphia. And got on the staff, just doing voluntary work with athletics. They had a farm, the Fellowship Farm, and I would sponsor all the sports programs. Well, she was very friendly and a close friend of Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr., when he got out of the Montgomery jail, came to Philadelphia for a Northern Initiative. And he was to speak at the Fellowship House. And Marjorie Penny says, when Dr. King comes, Len, you take him up to the meeting room, give him coffee and cookies and before he speaks. So there was a little girl that I was interested in, not my wife at the time, and I wore my Central Heart, that crimson and gold colors. I had a big varsity letters from football, swimming, track, all in, and so I wanted to impress this girl. So I got on the elevator with Martin Luther King Jr. and he looked at me, he said, very impressive, very impressive. And so we got up and I was sort of fidgety. He said, come here, son, sit down. He said, now, I know what you're going through. I was there once. He says, I brought him coffee. He said, you go right on downstairs. I know what you're looking at. I know that. And he was very perceptive. So I went on downstairs. Marjorie Penny said, where's Dr. King? I said, he's up in the waiting room. Why aren't you up there? And I said, well, he said, I could come down here. He said, you're missing an opportunity of a lifetime. You should have a pen and pencil and writing down and so. And I said, I'll go back. He said, no, you stay right here. I'm going up. You had your chance. Well, she was really angry at me. Well, long story short, 4 years later, when I was graduated from Lincoln University, Martin Luther King was the graduation speaker, and he got an honorary doctor of humane letters. And afterwards, everybody crowded. We threw our hats in the air. We were inspired by getting involved in the civil rights movement. And I went up to him, and people were crowding around him. He kind of pushed aside. He said, come in. He said, the sweater. He remembered. He said, the sweater. I said, well, Dr. King, I got admitted to theological seminary to study from Presbyterian ministry. And he said, he grabbed me and hugged me. He said, welcome to the struggle. Wow. And that's what I did. I went down and got involved in the civil rights movement right away, picketing and so on.